Cool. And now if I can just get everybody to mute, except for Jodi, so that we can hear her nice and loud and clear, that would be fabulous. So Jodi, it's awesome to have you here. For those of you who haven't met Jodi before, Jodi is the author and founder of Beyond the Banks and founder of the Beyond the Banks Academy. Jodi's been getting a ton of great press lately for all of the incredible work that she's been doing to teach people about how to become their own banker, how to be private lenders. We were talking earlier today about the Smith maneuver, and Jodi is going to be one of the authors in the From Ordinary to Extraordinary book. So Jodi and I have known each other about 3 years now, and we're really excited that things are really happening. And so we're really excited that now that we start to come out of this whole COVID thing, we're going to be able to start working together more, and just can't wait to hear what Jodi's got to say. And I'm just going to spotlight you so that you are ready to go. And Jodi, you can take it away. Thanks for being here tonight.
Great, thanks so much. And thanks so much for thinking of me and having me, and also inviting me to be part of your book. I think that is just such a brilliant idea. I had to be a part of it. So wonderful. And thank you everybody for taking the time tonight to join. I would love to, I know in just the spirit of WREN, it's all about the glass of wine. I don't have a glass of wine. I'm so exhausted from my move, as Liza just mentioned, that I think I would probably flatten out. So next time I will definitely have a glass of wine with all of you. And hopefully it'll be in person. So today we're going to talk about the power of private lending. And it's really just taking the idea of what banks do to lend out money and, well, really kind of, use our money, lend it out, and then at higher rates, and then take the spread. And this strategy that the bank uses is one of the strategies that makes banks one of the most profitable business models in the world. And we as individuals can do the same thing. So let me just make sure there. I have to get out of this. There we go. Little disclaimer, of course, we have to have the disclaimers. This information is for educational information and purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice, investment advice, or any other advice. It's intended to be general in nature and is not specific to you or anyone. If there is something that you learn and there is a strategy that, from the strategies that I'm going to teach a strategy because I want you to have a takeaway. If that's something that is of interest to you, please make sure that you check with your accountant and make sure that it's right for you. So, we, in things like real estate investing or just life in general, just really any time that I've ever taken any courses, mentorship programs, like investment training, anything like that, there's always this sort of talk about my why. I can't remember the fellow that wrote a whole book on it.
Simon Sinek.
What's his name?
Simon Sinek.
Yes, that is a fantastic book to read. And, I sort of went through life, have been asked this question, throughout, many years. And I never really kind of figured out what my why was until I had my son. And so my son, his name is Hunter, and this is my husband, Greg, and our new addition, Blaster, named by a 6-year-old. But really, it was really when I had my son, and it wasn't just having my son, because obviously it'd be my why, but it was the state of mind that I was in when I was working corporate. When I was working corporate, I was so stressed out. I came back, I had him in my mid-40s, and I had a pretty intense job. It was like being in university every day. I am not an engineer. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a mathematician. And those were my clients. And so I sold a physics-based software for a company called Ansys, and it was really fascinating. I did it for 8 years. I was very good at it, did very well, got awards, all that kind of stuff. But it was like being in university every single day. And when I came back after having a son and having mummy brain and just trying to like get back in the rigmarole, and my husband works on the road, and I also had a territory job which involved a flight, which involved, going to Alberta every second week. And it just was like too much. It was too much. And I came to a point where I realized that um, if I kept on this path, my son was going to grow up with that mom that is like stressed out, feeling haggard, just racing all the time, short fuse. And, it just got to a point where I had to make a decision. I had a boss that was really kind of bumping up against me. We were sort of bumping, like just, he was challenging in a way that wasn't healthy, and lack of leadership. And it was not good. And so it provoked me. And I really think, that it was like the universe saying, you're done here. You're done here. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. There's something else out there for you. Let go of this 20-year career, and you need to, get on with things. And so it just kind of got too uncomfortable for me to stick with. And then I just was provoked one day that I was just like, boom, sat down with that old spreadsheet, built a financial reality for myself to really kind of figure out exactly where it was, where every dollar that was in my name, where it was, how it was performing, whether it was locked up, whether it was underperforming, what it was doing. And I realized through taking that big picture of everything, putting it on a spreadsheet, it was like I found hidden money. And it's funny because the guy who does my ads for my social and my digital ads and stuff, he's the copy guy. He's like, oh yeah, he talks about this hidden money. And I was like, I don't know, is it hidden money? But it is hidden money. It was hidden money for me because I saw that I could do some restructuring and I could free up, I think it was like something like $700,000. And that was the game. I was a game changer. And it was, kind of realizing I was sitting on a gold mine. And then I started to kind of, figure some things out. And from there, boom, about 8 months later, I did find that financial independence. And I don't want to say retirement because I was 46 years old. I'm not retired. I'm not at a point where I want to be retired. But what I was really yearning in life was that freedom away from corporate so that I could go into something more entrepreneurial. And I always wanted to write a book. And I wrote a book. So what financial independence gave me was the time, the space, the freedom to be able to write a book and then build a coaching program and ultimately a course. And, Beyond the Banks Academy was born. So, yeah, so it's nice. I own my time, which is really nice. So I kind of want to touch a little bit on what the 5 things the wealthy do. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit like more about kind of like the stuff I do. And then I'm going to teach you something, and hopefully it'll leave you with some ideas and some excitement as to what maybe you can do. So 5 things that wealthy do, and this is just my observation. Like there's lots of different opinions, but this is what resonates with me in terms of like what I see out there, and it makes a lot of sense to me. So first of all, they preserve their net worth. They invest their net worth and they utilize the interest earned. And I'll give you an example. I had some money come back from a private loan, and I'm not a Lamborghini mansion person. I was driving a 13-year-old Volvo SUV, and I had a little rear ender. It was my fault. So it was the front end of my Volvo, which basically wrote it off, right? Because you're talking engine and all that kind of stuff. And So I went, we went down to a one-car family for about 6 months, and I really wanted to get a Tesla. I really wanted to get an EV car. I was ready for it. We had a gas car, and then I wanted to have an EV car. And I had this money that I could just go and I could just buy the Tesla. I could just buy it like outright and be no car loan. But instead, I really thought about it, and I was like, no, but I could take this money, I could invest it at 15% annualized returns in the form of monthly cash flow. And that interest payment will cover my car payment, the insurance, and a little bit extra that I can put on the car loan to bring down the car loan. So now I own the Tesla, and I still have that net worth amount that I got working for me that managed all of that. And I had it in a nice, clean little account where interest going in and money coming out for car payment and car insurance. And I don't have to think about it. It just is all automated and tucked away. And I still have that, that 6 figures of money as part of my net worth. It's not sunk into a depreciating asset like a car. We get optimized on tax. The wealthy are pros at getting optimized on tax. They spend big money to make sure that they have accountants that, really structure their stuff up and make sure they're optimized on tax. But there's things that we can do where we don't have to spend that big money to get optimized on tax, to get started and be preserving a little bit more of our money that we earn over, as Canadians, we pay our fair share in tax. So wherever we can manage to preserve tax and optimize on it, we should take advantage of that. Insurance policy strategies. Now, I'm definitely somebody, I try to, and I say that I'm an open mind, right? I'm an open-minded person. I'm open to ideas, but I was not open with insurance. Guys, I was just like, don't talk to me about insurance. It just felt like I had to have a shower after someone was trying to talk to me about insurance. And then I came across infinite banking and the whole life banking strategy. And I don't know if anybody has come across that or if people are still looking at that, but that is definitely something that is pretty fantastic. And there's an amazing certified infinite banker here in the lower mainland of Vancouver area, Liz Lamont. She may have possibly been on your on your platform here from the past. If not, you should get her on. She's wonderful. She's great. This banking policy, this insurance policy, it allows you to be your own banker with your and be using your death benefit while you're still alive. It's easier to use than getting a HELOC. And while you're using that money for an investment, it's still staying in its I don't know what you call it, in its place. I don't know, in its place where it's still earning money. So it's earning money while you're borrowing from it and then investing it. And it's fantastic. So that's definitely something you gotta learn about the strategy. There's portfolio diversification, obviously, like everything all in one. And there's multiple streams of income. It's really good to have multiple streams of income. And part of that portfolio diversification and multiple streams of income, of course, is, owning real estate, various strategies in real estate, but it can also be like having a bit of crypto, having a bit of, whatever you do, whatever other things that you do. All right, so a little bit about my background. So I did have a 20-year career in high-tech software sales, as I mentioned. I am the author of Beyond the Banks, Success Strategies in Real Estate as a Private Money Lender, CEO and founder of Beyond the Banks Academy. I've had 18 plus years in real estate, investing in various strategies, and both in US and Canada throughout 4 provinces, I think, in Canada, and 7 years of private money experience. I've been written up in Forbes a few times, a couple of things I've done, and then top talent. And then there's also been some other things that I've been published in some of the news agencies, and then Disrupt, and I was on the Entrepreneur podcast, which was really cool. I was also in a book, a collaborative women entrepreneur book called Women Who Boss Up, with all these amazing ladies. This was a super fun project to be a part of. And I'm co-founder of this book, Women Gone Wild, The Feminine Guide to Fearless Living, for all you fearless, wild women out there. There's about 15 authors. And if there's anybody here doing any sort of like really cool finance stuff and you want to be in the Women Gone Wild finance book, that's going to be coming along soon. This book's going to be out in August, and it's a super, super fun project. And of course, Liza's book, From Ordinary to Extraordinary, which is so exciting to be a part of this with all of these amazing women. So again, let's talk a little bit about what private money is. So private money is really just using your own money to invest in private equity. And private equity can mean a lot of different things, but in the context of real estate, the most simplest basic way of thinking about this is that, somebody, an active investor, is going out, finding a house, getting it under contract, and it's usually under market value. They need they need to have cash to buy the house, because often that's a distressed property. They may also be just looking at doing like a quick flip, like 3 to 6 months. And so by the time you go through the whole mortgaging process, especially in this mortgaging day and age, wow, it's like incredible. It's just not worth it. It's easier to raise private money from, OPM. You may hear the term OPM, other people's money. Raise it from, people like myself, where we put up the money, and then, the cash is there to buy the house and do the renovations, and then turn around and sell it, and everybody makes a profit. And how that looks for the bank is that what a bank generally does is, we put our money into savings account, and on paper, the bank takes that money and then loans it back to us in the form of things like mortgages, credit cards, car loans, line of credit, student loans, etc. And then they take the spread. So they may pay us like 1%, or I don't even know what the savings account rate is today. I don't get out of bed for unless it's a double digit return. But anyways, point being is that they, maybe they're paying 1% or 1.5%. And then maybe they're paying, then you're paying, 3.95 on your unsecured line of credit. And then they're taking the spread. And think about it from like a credit card perspective, they're taking like a really big spread when you're late on your payment, right? Because you're paying like 19 to 20%, 21%. And so what we can do is, of course, we can use straight up cash, but if we don't have straight up cash, we can use like insurance policy money. We can use money from our HELOC. So if you're paying prime plus a half on your HELOC, 2.95, and you're getting yourself into a 15% annualized deal, then you're basically taking that spread of, what is that? 11%, 11%. I don't know. My calculator can't even add that up. But you're taking the spread, and you can, when you're talking about, doing 100,000 here, 200 there, getting that money working, it's really significant. And if you think about it, there's a lot of people, like I talk to people every day that, especially in the Vancouver and Toronto markets, maybe they have $200,000 left on their mortgage. They're sitting on a $1.5 million property. They're sitting on a gold mine. Like that is a whole nother salary. If you can get a hold of $500,000, for example, and have that loaned out at 15%, that's $75,000 a year. Like that is a game changer. So get that equity unlocked, however, beg, borrow, whatever you got to do, work those mortgage brokers, work those underwriters. If you get a no go to the next one, go to the next one. I just went through 4 mortgage brokers from February till 2 weeks ago, and I got the mortgage that I was looking for. It's, you know, sometimes you have to persevere, and you also want to make sure that if you do get denied or someone says no, you ask why. What is it? What do I need to change? What's the benchmark here? What do you need me to do to make sure that I get the loan that I'm looking for? And then you pivot, you adjust, you do whatever to try and free up that money, because you start adding up, you know, 5 years of that, that's $375,000. So, and that's not even including any sort of compounding opportunities, right? So is this okay? Are you guys like, is this making sense to you guys? Does
Yes,
anybody have any questions, or
great, Jodi. It's
am I
really good.
talking to the choir here? Everyone's like, oh yeah, we already know all this stuff.
It's great. I've started making some notes, you know, it's like the just some of the things to reiterate, right? 500K, take the equity out of your house. You know, some people might not be able to tap into that equity. For some people, it means cashing out of those big expensive properties, right? How many people do we know recently? I won't mention any names, but there's people on this call who have sold their houses in Vancouver because they can't get the equity out. And, you know, bought a place in Victoria or bought a place in Chilliwack, or renting for a while, because now you've got this big chunk of money, and, you know, those numbers are really clear. 500K a year, loaning it out at 15,000 or 15% gives you $75,000 a year. That's another salary, just like you said. But you don't need to do anything else if you have that, right?
It's
So
huge. And yeah, and sometimes money is so locked up because, you know, we've retired, or we've, you know, gone self-employment for, you know, that's why I had a heck of a time, because of my self-employment. And then my husband, he's self-employed, and he had, you know, he had a COVID year last year. So it, you know, it was a real challenge. And yeah, sometimes it's like, you got to maybe take a look at if it's something that's so important to you, that you see the numbers on the spreadsheet, and if it means that you do have to sell and downsize or move to, you know, a less expensive, you know, city or town or home or whatever, then, you know, definitely consider that, because that is like, that's life-changing money. That is really life-changing money, just by shifting around and getting access to it. Because you know, you think about that over like 10 years, and that money just, it's great to be mortgage free and da da da. But if you're sitting on like a big chunk of change, it's sitting there doing nothing year after year after year, you look back and you go, oh wow. I mean, that is true wealth building money.
So a couple of questions came in. So let me just have a quick look here. So when you go from mortgage to mortgage broker to mortgage broker, does this affect your credit rating each time you are checked out before? And yeah, Sherry kindly answered that. Every time your credit report is pulled, it has an effect.
Yep.
So go, and that's why we sometimes say go to a mortgage broker rather than going to a bank, because if you go to a mortgage broker, your mortgage broker isn't going to just start getting banks to pull your credit rating. They're going to wait and work you through the process and shop around for you. So sometimes, yes, it's good to go to a couple of different mortgage brokers, but you want to be strategic about it. And Jodi, anything to add on that?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so not all mortgage brokers, realtors, accountants, they're not all created equal. You want to make sure that you're tapping into investment focused, you know, professionals, right? So for example, Kelly Fry, Cam Manning, those guys are truly investment focused realtors. You want to work with investment focused accountants, and you want to work with investment focused mortgage brokers. You want to start with that in a way, because an investment focused mortgage broker is going to really help you. First of all, they tend to get all your information, ask you what you're trying to do, what are you trying to accomplish, and then they help build the business case and structure, and they're very skilled, they're very creative. And if they can't, I did start with a mortgage broker like that. And then they basically, because I have such big HELOCs, even though we have very little original debt, we have these big HELOCs because they produce us some serious, money, right? And so, and I wasn't willing to give up on that. I would rather like close and sell the townhouse over moving into it, over giving up my HELOCs. That's how precious they are to me. So yes, you definitely start with somebody like that, and they tend to not pull your credit until all of the numbers are in place and they've built up their case and all that kind of stuff. Now, if you have a really good credit rating, like we were up around 880 or something like that, when he wasn't able to succeed, so he was trying to get us in with some other, investment focused, but bank specialist kind of mortgage brokers. And they do what's called a soft credit pull. So when a bank pulls your credit, it's going to affect you by about 10, 15 points. So if you're already up like in the eights, if you do have to kind of do that, I was really cringing at that, to be honest with you. And some of those banks, they they won't even start on your file until they pull the credit. Like CIBC was who actually came through for me. And it was like, the first thing she did was I had to sign something to say pull my credit. And I challenged her. I argued with her. I was like, I wanted my credit pulled. And then I talked to another mortgage broker, and they're like, it's really just a soft pull, and it's about 10 points. So it's not going to like, pull you down into like the 600 when you're up in the eights, for example.
And then
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And then the other question that came through, how long would you lend your 500K for? Isn't private lending short term? And I'm not going to answer that because I know you will.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily go all in on 500K on one deal, but I would do, like I probably would slice and dice that up with probably 3 deals, maybe 4. I would mix and match that a little bit with the TFSA, which I'll be showing you a little bit of that strategy. So, and then, it would kind of be spaced out. So generally speaking, like a lot of those kind of loans I do for 6 months to a year. And then I have, I do have some medium term and like longer term investments as well. Maybe into some limited partnerships, like money that I would be like in the past would have just had with a financial advisor, sort of like set it and forget it and keep my fingers crossed and hope that that it's going to be okay in the end. I have some real estate stuff that I do that's a little bit longer term and that I don't worry about. And I know I'm going to be averaging 30% annualized returns on that money. But yeah, for the turnover stuff, like, I do, especially when I was like really living off of it, like this was my income. I was looking for those like monthly cash flow opportunities that were 6 months to a year. And I've just kind of cycle through that. And yeah, there's lots out there. There's lots out there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's great. I know that, a lot of people talk about doing short-term private loans. I've had people who have done short-term like for 60 days and done 22%, right? Because it's like, we really need this. We really want to close this deal. We'll give you 22% interest for 2 months. Because when you think about it, right, if the numbers work and it's short-term, it's doable. So people hear high numbers and they're like, oh my God, it's too much. But is it not, what is it to get the deal done, right? And those are all the things that you have to look at. Is it worth doing? And if it is, then 22% for a short term it's not really that much.
No, it's really not. I mean, it's nice for a private money lender to be in that situation where you're gaining that, but really from an active investor's perspective, for them they build all the numbers in there. It all comes down to their spread. It always comes down to the numbers. And, I one of the very first private money deal I did, I was second position, 50,000 in. I got 1 point, which was just almost like a loan fee. They gave me 1 point on 50,000, which was, I think, is that $500? And then I got 12% annualized with a guarantee of 3 months. So they would pay me 3 months, and they knew that it was going to be a fast turnaround. It was super cosmetic, a little townhouse in Washington State. And they flipped it in 41 days. I made $2,000 US in 41 days off this 50,000. I had the deed of trust in my hand, which is like, you know, our title. And they made 20, like 20, I think 25 or $27,000. So for them to pay me, and then they had another lender at 75, same kind of deal. I think they paid about $5,000 or just under around $5,000 tops on private money. But they put 25,000 in their pocket. So do they care that they paid 5,000? They
Exactly.
profited 25K
In 41 days.
days. You know what I mean? So, you know, I was just like, I got the money back so fast, and I was like, wow, that was the easy, and it was US dollars, and that was when
Nice.
the US was like, and I was
Nice.
just like, wow, that was the easiest money I've ever made.
Yeah.
And then I just got kind of addicted to it all.
And it's all about the numbers, right? Like that's the thing to drive home. When you look at the numbers, you look at your spreadsheet, or you look at the templates, or, you know, the napkin dollars, whatever it is that you're looking at, you know, it's about the numbers, not the emotion, not how pretty the house is going to be, you know, not how sexy the Airbnb is going to be, you know.
You are not the person picking out the paint and the granite counters. And no, that we call that, don't be a PITA. Paint in the, you know, you want to just be like, you're the money lender, boom. You don't, like, if you want to get involved in that kind of stuff, then you become the active investor and you do the sweat equity and you do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you want to just, you know, you're the money partner. You want to make sure that their numbers make sense. You know, when they present their numbers to you, you want to make sure that they make sense. We do go over numbers and due diligence, and, you know, how to interpret numbers, deal analysis, and what to kind of look for and whatnot in our in my program. But you know, you're not, you know, the person who is designing. You know, you're not. That's not your job. The reason why we're doing this is because we're busy people. We want to make passive income. We no longer feel safe about having our money in mutual funds on the stock market. And we want to go into a contract that says, okay, we're going to make, you know, 10, 12, 15% annualized over this amount of time. We can have nice little conversations with our accountant ahead of time, give them a heads up. We can figure out our tax, you know, in advance, and it's just nice and clean. And whether you're an active investor, you know, like some people are like, well, I'm an active investor, and then they don't do passive investing. That's a mistake. Like, you know, definitely learn your strategy one at a time. But if you're an active investor, you know, I'll show you this TFSA strategy. You can't even be investing in your own projects necessarily with this. So at least get your TFSA going in some sort of a passive investment so that it can be growing tax-free, and, you know, multiple streams, right? So you figure out one thing, then you go to the next, and you go to the next. And there's nothing wrong with blending strategies, doing both. You know, I know WREN has a lot of people that are active, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, I'm not saying do one or the other. I'm saying, you know, this is just in my world, it's right now in my world, it's about passive investing models, because I'm very busy and I don't have time to do that kind of stuff. But do I want to add more of those kind of strategies into my portfolio? Yes, I do. And I do have a plan to do that a little bit later. But an active investor is essentially the sweat equity. It's the person or the company that's going and finding the house, doing the contract up with the seller. You know, they're doing, they're raising the capital, they're working with the contractors, figuring out the materials, the renovations, what everything looks like, staging it, putting it back on the market, selling it, and paying everybody that needs to be paid and whatnot. A passive investor is the money partner. You're just putting up the money for them to do the whole strategy. So I always like to kind of lean on Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, he was really like his Rich Dad Poor Dad was really the book that, like many, I sound like so many people in real estate. It was really the book that, ignited me into looking at real estate and realizing that there's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate, and you just got to pick your strategy and then just layer it. But changing the way you think, for example, like I was just like insurance, and then here I am going, oh, I see that insurance strategy and I think, oh my God, how did I miss that one? So change the way you think, be open to education, be open to mentoring, be open to new ideas, good things will come to you, and there'll be that thing that you need to hear at that time in that moment, that it's like, okay, that's the next thing I need to focus on, which is, focus. We need to focus on one thing at a time, get these things done, and it's when you're focused and you're not scattered, which I've been so much lately. I've been so scattered, so I feel like I need to drill it back in and get back focused. And sometimes we lose that focus and we need to bring ourselves back, right? Know what we're working hard for. I mean, this, I really attribute this to, what is your why? Why are we doing this? What is it? What is it that we need that's going to be there for us to remind us why we're doing it and help us persevere? Me, 4 mortgage brokers and February till July, just persevering, like knowing what I didn't want to give up, knowing what I wanted, staying focused, and like not accepting anything that anyone was saying when they were telling me I got to shut down my HELOCs. No, that wasn't acceptable. And I kept going and I got what I wanted. Aim to acquire assets. Obviously, Robert Kiyosaki is very much about assets. It's great. If you just do private money, that's great. But if you do private money and you acquire assets, that's even better, because then you've got that equity growth on top of any of those sort of, private money things. And then you're really into true wealth building. Obviously, hedging your money, leveraging it, not letting your money sit in a house, like hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in equity, tied up for year after year because the bank won't HELOC you out. That's definitely something you want to look at. Hard times bring new opportunities, absolutely. And, design the business properly. So really kind of figuring out, like, what are you trying to achieve here? What can you do? And, building that plan out and then going after it. The more you give, the more you receive. Absolutely. I'm like giving all over the place now. And it's so exciting to be able to have, money that I can also give back in areas of things that are really near and dear to me, and that I believe in. So there's that. So does anyone have any questions so far? We're going to launch into the TFSA RSP strategies here. Nope. Or is there? I can't see because I'm on full screen.
That's okay. There was, what are the risks that people need to know about? And you're probably going to get into that as we go through.
Yeah, I mean, for risk, there's any investment has risk. Every investment has risk. Even putting your money into a bank can have risk because, guess what? Each bank account is only insured until $50,000. So if you have $100,000 and the banks crash, you're only insured up to $50,000. So everything has risk. Real estate can be considered very risky investment. For me, being on the title of a property and having that title paperwork, it's that extra collateral. And I just think of it as like, I went through the 2008 crash. I watched my money tank. I listened to all the things from the financial advisor. Not that my money was doing that great before that, And I was just like, wow, like that is super vulnerable. Like, what do you do if you're about to retire and another 2008 happens and your money's in that, you know? And that happened to a lot of people. When you have your money in real estate and you have it as collateral, if something happened in the market, yes, you can lose money. Obviously, there's lots of people that, you know, you hear about the '08 crash, people were upside down, people did this, did that. But there was also people that were upside down and they stuck it out and wrote it out, and they were way far ahead in the end. And there's just a lot more creative things that you can do. You can pivot easier when you own real estate or when you're on the title of property over being in the market, and the market comes down and you're like, oh, do I take a big fat capital loss here? What do I do? Do I just wait this out? Will it ever come back? Is this whole thing going to go away? You know, is that company going to fold and like just go right off the exchange? I had a mutual fund, $25,000, that just became N/A, not available. And there wasn't anything I can do it. It got delisted off the market. And like, where was my financial advisor? It was a joke. I was like, that was $25,000 just gone. And guess what? I still get that statement in the mail because I can't get rid of it. It's ridiculous. Anyways, and that was from like probably 12 years ago. So what do you do, right? So at least with real estate, there is things that you can do when you are on the collateral of when you have that collateral. It may not be perfect, it may be painful, but there's just more things that you can do. I always say in times of turmoil, you know, markets crash, money is lost. With real estate, you know, there's more creative things that you can do, and you know, being part of a network like this, you can brainstorm, you can bring your problems, looking for solutions to lots of experienced minds, and, you know, figure something out. So let's talk a little bit about the TFSA and RSP, because this is really what I want to kind of teach. Is like, I really love this strategy. I live and breathe for the strategy. It is so fantastic. So a TFSA is a tax-free savings account, and our RSP is a registered retirement savings plan. Pretty basic stuff. You would not be surprised how many people I talk to that either don't have a TFSA, or they have like $500 to $5,000 in a TFSA, and they are not using that TFSA you know, they're just not using it. It's very misinterpreted, misunderstood. The TFSA has been around since 2009. It is basically, it should be called a tax-free investment account, not savings account, because people will be like, oh yeah, I put $5,000 in there, and then yeah, that's just have $5,000 in there. It's my savings account. And it's like, you'd be better off having ING Direct or like an e-savings with your bank, making like 1%. If you're not investing that TFSA, and that's really where it's golden, is that when you earn interest on those contribution dollars that you put in, that is what the tax-free part of it is. An RSP is obviously tax deferred, it's tax sheltered, gross tax sheltered, and then it's tax deferred until when you take it out, you get taxed. Now, one thing is, like, when you die, RSP, half of it goes to the government, not to your loved ones. With a TFSA, it's preserved. It's tax free. So the government is not going to come knocking on your door to ask for a piece of that. It's going to go to your loved ones. It's going to go to your beneficiary or your successor. So let's talk about TFSA and RSP in the context of arm's length mortgage. So if you haven't heard of what an arm's length mortgage, all it is basically lending money from your registered accounts to a third party, you know, real estate transaction. Essentially, you are the bank, so you are mortgaging to somebody else, and then you're sitting on the title
of that property. Use trust custodian companies that will allow you to self-direct. This isn't anything you're going to be able to do in any of the big 6 banks. You have to use trust companies like Olympia Trust, Canada Trust, Computer Share, something like that. We tend to stick with Olympia Trust, and it's pretty straightforward with them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about a strategy. Some of you, like, we've been doing this for a long time, for about 5-6 years. And in the recent years, it's been coined in Canada by some financial gurus they call it the TFSA maximizer. And, you know, I just call it the advanced TFSA strategy. And what I'm going to do is show you a little case study so you can see what it looks without the strategy and what it looks like with the strategy, and how we can optimize on our tax and put more money into our TFSA that's tax-free, and keeping, you know, not paying less tax to the government. So let's take a $250,000 investment where the annual rate of return is 12%. That is a total return of $30,000. So no matter what, that active investor that you're loaning your $250,000 to, if it's 365 days, a full 12 months, they're going to pay you a total of $30,000. So what we're going to do is actually break it up into 2 positions. This can go actually up to 3 positions, but for simplicity purposes, we're going to keep it to 2 positions. So where is that 250 coming from? 200,000 is coming from cash, and we're going to put that in first position, and it's going to be handled very differently than the second position. But the first position, it's going to be a mortgage commitment in cash. It's going to be a bank draft to a lawyer trust account, essentially. And the 50,000 we're going to have sitting in our TFSA, and we're going to arm's length mortgage that using the custodian's paperwork, their arm's length paperwork, the trust company's paperwork, and we're going to do an arm's length mortgage. So it's going to be, these are 2 separate positions. The 200,000 is a mortgage commitment that you would literally go get a bank draft, a wire transfer, and you would go straight into the lawyer trust fund of the active investor. The second position is TFSA. You sign off on the arm's length mortgage paperwork with, say, for example, Olympia Trust, and Olympia Trust takes the money from your TFSA and then provides it to the lawyer, and then ultimately delivers it to the active investor to do their thing. So total 250 at 12%, you're still going to make 30,000. Now, in if you were taking these 2 positions, you would say 12% on the 200,000, 12% on the 50,000. That's your 30,000. So on the 200,000, you're going to earn 24,000 taxable interest dollars. So if you make $100,000 a year, that 24,000 sits on top of your $100,000. So in the CRA, you know, tax brackets, like as we go up in income, 24,000 will sit on the top of your top dollar income, and you'll get taxed at the highest tax rate of your full income. So it's expensive money. It's expensive money to earn. And the 50,000 will earn 12%, and that'll be $6,000 tax free. Total 30,000. But now what we're going to do is leverage that 200,000, and we're going to actually restructure the way that 30,000 is going to be paid, and we're going to optimize it so that more of it gets put into the tax-free savings account. So under the government of Canada, they say there's a policy that says the minimum interest rate acceptable is the current market prime rate, and it may not exceed a maximum yield of 30%. So what that translates to is that the one position has to have at least a minimum of prime going back into for interest earned, whereas the second position can have a maximum of 30%. So you can take that spread. Prime is 2.45 and then maximum of 30%. So in order for this to work, 200,000 has to make at least prime and 50,000 has to make a maximum of 30%. So if we were to do it like that, same thing, annual rate of return, 12%, 30,000. But what we're going to do is we're actually going to say, no, we're going to take the 50,000 second position, the tax-free, and we're going to put a full 30%, which is not 30% of the 30,000. It's 30% of the amount in that second position. So the math is 50,000 times 30%, and that equals 15,000. So we're going to say, no, of that 30,000, we're actually going to put 15,000 into the 50,000 tax-free savings account. And we're going to put 7.5% into that first position. And the reason why it's 7.5% and not 2.45 is that you have to, the math is, again, you've got your 30,000 profit and you start with 50,000 times 30%, which is 15,000. And then you minus that from the total profit, which is also 15,000. And then how you check is you go 15,000 divided by 200,000 is 7.5%. You're well above the 2.45%. So check, this would actually be approved by Olympia Trust and you would be able to facilitate this deal. And there's your 30,000. But now, I think I got my Mark Wahlberg here. Do I have anybody who's confused like this right now? Do I have any faces that look like this? I gotta see everyone's face. I'm gonna go on. Yeah.
There's probably a few.
I love this Mark Wahlberg face because that's how, that's how I felt when I first got it. So basically in that first position, it's a minimum of front prime. In that second position, it's a maximum of 30% on the 50,000, and you are building that tax-free money up. And if you start to do the math on that, it's like, you start to do the math and you're like, if you start with like $50,000 and you times that by 1.3, that's 65,000. You throw down your contribution for next year. Within a year, your 50,000 TFSA is now at 71,000. Let that sink in. You turn around, you times that by 1.3, that's 92,300. Add 6,500, because guess what? In 2023, we're going to be 6,500. Woohoo! An extra $500. In 2 years, you're going to be at 98,800 in your TFSA. Now, if you start at 75,000, which we can do 75.5 as of this year, because the contribution from 2009 to 2021 accumulated over all these years is at 75.5. If you've never contributed to your TFSA and you have 75.5 cash, you can move that into your TFSA. You can go and turn around and loan that out at 30%. And in a year, you're going to be at 97.5. Add your 6,000, you're at 103,500 in 1 year. That's pretty extraordinary, don't you think? Tax-free. You're not paying tax on that. I don't know. For me, it's like, now, in terms of the potential contribution amounts that are upcoming, where it seems to be going, some announcements have kind of come up around CRA. It's, we're going to be going to 6,500 in 2023, then 7,000 in 2027, and in 2031, 7,500. This is based on, obviously the government can change and they can do different things. We saw $10,000 a year with the conservatives, and then the liberals got in and they brought it back down to, what was it, like 5,500, I think. 5,500 or 6,000, I can't remember anymore. And so we're kind of crawling back up. So it just really depends on government, and but maxing out your TFSA is key. Now, if you want to grow your TFSA to $1 million in 10 years or over 900, this is kind of what it looks like, starting with $50,000. Again, we sort of, I'm adding this up year 3, year 4. This is based on the contribution dollars going up as well. And then by 10 years, we'd be at 966 if we kept this going. And this is, I'm talking compounding and keeping on the pulse of it, so that you're just like rinse and repeating your TFSA, taking the interest, compounding it, throwing it back in there and keeping going. And then, we're at financial freedom, which is, and this is one stream, right? This is a TFSA strategy. This is one stream that, everybody needs to get going, because it is just so fantastic. And, if you think about it, if you had that one stream there, and then you were also building some equity, with some buy and hold and some rental income, and you were, maybe you're doing a flip, or, getting involved in like an apartment syndication, something like that. This is just one stream, right? I just really want you to think about that. It's just one stream, because there's, we get so exposed to different things, and it's all accessible to us. And it may feel sometimes like, oh, I don't have any money, or I don't have money for this. It's accessible. It is. And there's things like infinite banking. There are things like the Smith maneuver that you can, use to like really like hone in and pay down that mortgage and free up that equity. Just getting in that right mortgage is so key. And applying these strategies and staying focused and sticking to them. I get so excited about this stuff.
Jodi, I just want to interrupt you for a
Yeah.
sec, just because I know there are probably people who are making the Mark Wahlberg face. So what I want to say, just to kind of, reassure people, is this is often the faces when we start talking about some of these strategies. It's very normal for us to have these faces, right? Because a lot of these are strategies that people haven't seen before, or when you first learn about them, you first hear about these things and you're completely like, oh my God, I have no idea. But as you start to show up, spend more time with people who are doing these kinds of things, it all starts to fit together. You start and you hear people say, oh, you guys must be like illegal, because who makes 25 or 30% on their investments? Nobody does that. And it's like, yeah, it's totally legal. And it's supported by the tax structures of the government. So you just have to be in the room with the right people. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or feeling confused right now, don't worry about it. It's a completely normal, natural place to be. And that's why you come onto these things, you hang out with people who are doing these kinds of things. And Jodi's gonna dive in right now and probably give us some details on one of the programs that she's got, where she gets into detail on this, right, Jodi?
Absolutely. And that TFSA thing is honestly, like, I have a whole module just on that TFSA thing. Not only like that, I have the interactive spreadsheets. I have the companies that facilitate that strategy for you, like the active investors, because it can be hard to find that. And I also, walk you through, like, here's all the paperwork that you're going to come across, so you can be really familiar and, dialed into like by the time you're talking to the active investor to like go into something like this, you're so dialed in, you're so pro, your money's ready, your stuff's all transferred, you know exactly what paperwork's going to come at the next step, and it makes it really, really straightforward. So don't worry, it is based on a ratio. It is very math, very, and that's why I actually built an interactive spreadsheet, because every time I have to actually punch the numbers, I always have to, it's a full science experiment on a napkin. So I'm like, make a spreadsheet, make it interactive. It's easy. So I do have Beyond the Banks Academy that I developed, and it's an 8-week program, approximately 8 week. I had it on a drip, and then COVID happened and people had time at home. So they were like, can you undrip this? Some people go through it in 2 weeks. Some people go 8, 9, 10 weeks. Doesn't really matter. It gets you through. We're there to support you. We have some group coaching. We have weekly calls with guest speakers, and the guest speakers are, people from various strategies, active investors with their latest and greatest. And then also we do have, what's the latest and greatest on, the mortgaging landscape of Canada, and, tips and tricks on how to deal with mortgage brokers, what kind of mortgage to get. We often have Rob Smith on the call. We have the experts. We bring the experts in, make them available to the members, and then you can have that sort of intimate, sort of kind of like here, where people, you can ask questions and whatnot. And we also get some really nice exclusive opportunities drop for our members as well. And as you get sort of more experienced and more comfortable, then you can learn to move really fast on some of those really great deals. But one of the things that I don't want to create in the course is, or what I should say, stay in the positive, is that what I like to create in the course, in the program, is kind of like a calm environment, a non-stress. There's not like a piece of meat dropping and everybody's like, it's more like figure out your financial reality, figure out the strategies and the funding structures, get restructured, take that time to be structured properly, move your money around, learn the different models, because there's lots of different passive investing models. And then after you're ready, then you go shopping. Then you're like, okay, I really like the way that, this is structured. It's going to meet my needs of having that cash flow, making that double-digit returns. Or I can do that, and I can facilitate growing my TFSA, at 20+% returns and things like that. So it's really we try to create an atmosphere of more like you go shopping. We work with very volume-based and systemized active investors that know what they're doing. They know how to pivot. They're just so pro, and it's all people, generally speaking, that I've been investing with for a number of years myself, because I want to keep it safe. I do get some crazy people calling me sometimes, just thinking that, I'm a bank that will just loan to anybody. And the stories, it can be a bit crazy, but I don't like to bring that kind of stuff in there. So I want people to be safe, because I want to sleep at night. I have 3 money rules. I have lots of money rules, but I have 3 main ones. My first one is, do I understand what I'm investing in? My second one is, can I sleep at night because I understand where my money is and what I've invested in? And third is, do I understand the exit strategy? Is there a solid exit strategy? And does it make sense? And exit strategy is essentially what needs to happen to this project in order for me to get my principal and my interest promised back to me. Boom. Does it make sense? What's the backup plan if something goes sideways, et cetera, et cetera. We definitely do spend some time on mindset and financial mindset is so important. It really is. We talk about, again, those hidden funds, how to look at your financial reality and look at what's locked up, what is underperforming, how you can, if it's not making double-digit returns, is it worth sitting in the market making 4% and getting hit with a bunch of fees? Maybe we can restructure that and get that going and making double-digit returns with either no fees or flat rate fees. By the way, I don't broker anything. I do not broker anything. I'm like, here's the education, and then here are the people who I invest with, and then you go and you have that direct. So the idea is get rid of the middle person, right? You don't need to have a broker. This isn't rocket science. You just need to find the right relationships. You need to understand what you're investing in, and you need to get your money repositioned and restructured in such a way that it's easy, accessible, and then you're good to go. And again, there's various investment strategies that may meet various goals. If we have debt reduction, if we want monthly cash flow, if we want to just wealth build and be compounding and growing things, there's different strategies available to you. and really, again, optimizing on paying taxes. That TFSA strategy, you do not have to have a $10,000 accountant structure to completely save on taxes with that strategy. It's so brilliant. And when you use your HELOC money for that first position, you're also have a tax deductible. The cost to borrow off the HELOC is going to be tax deductible against that cost to borrow. And I also, obviously, I talked about being able to interpret numbers for deals that you're getting involved with, and doing the due diligence so that you can make sure that you are asking the right questions, you know what questions to ask, and you can really, I'd like to say, flush out the bad deals and find things that are going to earn you those double digits and being able to sleep. So some of, my happy members who've done really well. There's so many of them. I have to go back and collect more of these. She was such a rock star. She got in 2 deals within 2 weeks. And by the time I think she was at 6 weeks, she was in 4 deals. And I think she's done something like 8 by now. They are just they've done really well. I do have a masterclass, beyondthebanks.com, and you can go there, check that out. There's a kind of a masterclass, and then there's an application and a booking schedule, and you can, jump on a consult with one of my team members and, just see if it's in alignment with what you're looking for. And I love, love, love this quote. I am a Kurt Vonnegut fan, and but we have to continually be jumping off cliffs and developing our wings on the way down. And it's so, I think, it's such a good quote for real estate, because we always have to be pivoting, and we always need to be, educating ourselves along the way. It's a journey. And I think that, this past year with COVID, it's been so enlightening. I'm so proud of the people, the partners that I've chosen over these years to work with, because they were rock stars in COVID. I was talking with people at the front of COVID that were like, rah, 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 life is over. I can't do this. I can't do that. I couldn't even talk to them. And then I went and I talked to my people, and they were like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. We locked ourselves in a boardroom for 10 days. This is what we're doing. And it was just phenomenal. And those people had the best years of their career in this, because they were 10 steps ahead. They were pivoting. They were open. They were like, they didn't use the word can't. They just made it happen. And that was really the difference. And I was so, in the beginning, I was worried. And then I had conversations with all those people. I got them all on the group calls, and I was like, I'm working with rock stars. I'm working with rock stars. I'm so blessed to be working with rock stars. And so, here we are. And even today I had one of them on, and, one of the things that's happening because of COVID is that, we know that materials can be really hard to get a hold of. And these people just pivoted, and they went on to some site down in the States to kind of follow trends of like, what was, what are they knew that the lumber stuff was coming weeks before the lumber shortage was coming, baseboards, like all these things, copper. And they just went and they called and they got pallets of these things ahead of time so that they weren't going to be stuck waiting for this stuff when all of these, everything was waiting. So anyways, I digress. That's my presentation. Thank you so much. I'm open for questions.
Jodi, that was great. I think the TFSA numbers are probably rattling around in everybody's brain. going $75,000 to $1 million. Oh my God, I gotta get in on this quick.
Yeah.
So, couple of questions that have come through. Obviously, people who are interested in the program want to know the cost. So that's one of the questions that's come in. And I also just want you to be aware, because I know you've got a time crunch. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
about 20 after 8, and you've got a hard stop at 8:30. So if we've got any questions, we better get to them quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the cost of the program, I have two costs. It's best to jump on a consult for sure, but there's two different. There's a VIP that is 12,000. And if you jump on a consult and you're ready to join, there is, some fast track action, coupon codes that come along with it. So it saves you a couple $1,000. And that gives you 4 one-on-ones over the course of the year, which is generally speaking, more that, that's pretty much is a good amount to have. There are, also, unlimited emails with me, and then I sometimes will respond using Voxer or Loom video. And but it's nice to, we basically go through, we sit down, we have a spreadsheet, and we work a strategy for you. And I give you all of your actions, all of your step by step, everything that you need to do specific to your financial reality and in line with your goals, and who to be looking at. And we just sort of take you along. So you may have to go get restructured, and then you come back to me, and then you have when you see where everything lands, we have another call, and then we start to really get into the nitty gritty of like who you need to go shopping with. You may want to have a call when you come out of that deal, or just before you're about to get in that deal. And then see, like at 6 months, you're like, hey, I got my money back. What's next? What do I do next? We can, restructure that. And then we have an $8,000 program, which is the online course. It's the group coaching, bi-weekly group coaching. And we also have the weekly group calls. And there is also a fast track savings if you book a consult and you join on the call or within 24 hours of the call, kind of thing, if you want to think about it. If you do go on a call and you have a spouse or another decision maker in the family that needs to be part of that call, please have them also attend, because the worst thing that happens is that, you're like, you're leaned in, you're ready to go, but you're like, oh, I got to talk to my husband. And then you try to paraphrase this to your husband, and they're like, what? If I had my husband as a decision maker, he doesn't make decisions for me at all. No. He's too, like, he would just be like, that sounds crazy, like, so I just do my thing. And we've kind of had that, like, that kind of arrangement in our life anyways, because we got together later in life. But some people don't, and they want to make decisions together, and that's totally fine too. Just try to have them both on the call. It really helps everybody.
And just to add some context to that, right? Like a lot of those of us who are who have these kinds of groups or in these kinds of groups, we've joined the clubs, we've got the coaches. I mean, Keyspire, I think now is up to $50,000. That's Scott McGillivray's program. I believe his membership now is around 50,000. It may have dropped a little bit because he might have shifted to online. Fortune Builders in the US is, I think, $60,000 US.
Is it? It's, I spent, I did when it was 25, and then I did their inner circle for another 25. So US. So yeah, I mean, I know my first real estate course, like back in 03, was 12.5. Yeah, I know it's a big gulp. But you're talking with, somebody like myself, I've spent the money on a lot of this stuff, and gone to all the conferences, met the people, and a lot of the people that I've met at those conferences are people that I do actually do my deals with. And so you're kind of like learning all of that knowledge and just getting straight, to the cutting straight to the going, whatever that saying is. I'm so tired. But what I'm saying is, and none of this is like, again, like, this is not get rich quick crap. This is not Lamborghinis and mansions. No, this is really like, just like, there's the financial advisor stuff, and there's good financial advisors, of course, but there's a lot of that retail banking is, it's I personally
Icky.
see it. It's
icky.
icky. It's
Yeah.
a failed system. And when we are sitting doing linear conventional things that our parents did, and maybe that worked at one point, but it's like, it's not about like going to, college or university, getting a job, living in that job for 30 years, retiring, hoping that you have your house paid off by then. It's not about that, because you pull one of those pegs out. There's pensions, good luck. Unless you're working for the government or you're a teacher or something, pensions, I've never worked in a job with pensions. Like, you're only as good as your last quarter. Like, things, people are disposable. And even with pensions, look at all the pensions that have like failed. Like, look at the people that worked at what's that?
Was it Nortel?
Sears.
Oh, Sears. Yeah,
Sears.
yeah.
They,
Yeah.
there's a couple of those big retail stores, and people thought that they were going to have their pensions, and then, and then if you're, and then what do you do when your earning years are gone and then a peg gets pulled out? You want to be doing those multiple streams of income. You want to get diversified. You want to learn this strategy, boom, get that done. Next, boom, get that done. And keep going and layering it. Next thing you know, you've got a whole portfolio of wealth building and knowledge. So, you talk to Robert Kiyosaki, and if he got wiped out, totally wiped out, he would turn around and he would make his money back in no time at all, because he knows exactly, because he has the knowledge, right? And so you can go anywhere, around the world, and you can apply these strategies. And so that's really what it's about, is just keep learning.
Keep learning, keep
Open.
surrounding yourself with people who are doing it, and
Mhm.
find people like Jodi, or find the coach that works for you, or the strategy that you like. So I would strongly invite you to hop on one of those calls with Jodi, and have some time with her. And I'm looking forward to working with Jodi more in the future, and as we come out of COVID. And talking about pivoting, right? I mean, there's so many things that we talked about tonight. COVID, pivoting, the TFSAs, some of the first things you said, preserving your net worth, right? The having a business so that you can lease a car, so that your car becomes a tax deduction rather than something that is a depreciating asset, right? So many things that when you're in this kind of space and you hear these kinds of things, and it doesn't all, we call it information by fire hose. It's not all going to stick at first. You've got your mouth wide open and your brain's turned on, and you're only going to catch a little bit of it. But the more you show up, the more you surround yourself with people who are doing this, the more it's going to stick. I mean, I remember the first time I went to a real estate event. I think I went to, it was before it was Keyspire. It was, I think he called it Cash Flow King or something like that, but it was Scott McGillivray's training program, and it was in Richmond. And, it's like, I remember, I still have my workbook, because like 10, 15 years ago, the information that I got from there is still, it still applies, and it's still solid. And, the 1% rule, and, taking action, and your mindset, like all of these are the things that you just have to keep working on, and you've got to keep being in the room and taking action. I mean, there's lots of people who should, go to the events, take the programs, sign up for memberships, and then don't act. What you really want to do is start acting. So the best way to do that is to get into the room with people who are taking action. So Jodi, I know you have to hop off very quickly, because you've got a tight timeline tonight. Thank you so much for, you've had such a busy few weeks. You just moved yesterday. I hope you get a chance. Send someone out to buy you a toothbrush. Can someone go buy Jodi a toothbrush?
It's somewhere. I was like, I put it somewhere. I was like, I will remember this box. No problem.
Nope. So great information. That TFSA strategy. I know people are going to be, either dreaming or having nightmares about it tonight, and think, I need to know more. I need to know more.
Yeah.
And just all of the good, general information, the general reminders, diversify, reread Rich Dad, Poor Dad, reread Think and Grow Rich. That's one of the things that I love to reread every year. Get that mindset going. Get on a call with Jodi, and there's lots of thank yous coming
Oh,
in.
and actually, if anybody who's interested, send me an email to hello at Beyond the Banks, and send an email to hello at Beyond the Banks. Just put, REN guest in the subject line, and we'll respond with a digital copy of my book.
Awesome. And
So
the
you
book's
can-
great. The book's great. I've read the book. The book's great. So yeah, that's
Thank you.
that's something that everybody should get started with. So take advantage of that, everyone. Send a message to hello at Beyond the Banks, and that's .com. Hello
Yep.
at beyondthebanks.com, and Jodi's going to get you a digital
And just put
version
in the
of the book.
subject line, REN guest.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, we better let you go because I know you've got to run off.
Yes.
Nice
Thank
to
you
see
so
you.
much.
and
Thanks for
can't wait-
having me. Thank you
Yes.
everybody for showing up and attending and listening to me ramble on for 45 minutes. It was really super fun.
Awesome.
I just got to have a wine next time.
Yes.
I know that you always have the wine. Where's your
I-
glass of wine?
I didn't actually tonight. I just had I had a cider and it's gone.
Oh,
I was drinking it while I was listening to you.
well, there you go.
So
All right,
I'll
and
see
say
you
hi to
soon.
everybody for tomorrow. I can't make tomorrow, but say hi to everybody, and I look forward to hearing from some of you or all of you. And that's all. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. So everybody, we're going to sign off for tonight. And keep in mind some of those key dates that I mentioned. September 14th is the book launch. Next Tuesday is Sherry Krause's meetup. It's still online at the moment. You can find the information in the WREN newsletter. If you're not getting that, send me an email, info@ren.club, and let me know if you want to subscribe, or just go to the WREN website, WREN.club. Thank you. I will enjoy my trip to Toronto, and hopefully whoever's in Toronto, we'll see you at the Toronto event on August 18th, and then we'll be back in September with some more live events and lots more going on. And we know we'll have Jodi as a guest speaker after the book is done. Gosh, it's probably going to be the new year because this year's going so fast, right? We're halfway through already.
I know,
So
it's wild.
awesome to see everybody. Thank you so much. And if you didn't get your question answered, either send it on to Jodi or send it on to me, and we'll work on getting that answered for you. So thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thanks. Take care, everyone. Bye.